Slow robot, okay. So Friday was a pretty special day in the life of Slow Robot, and I want to talk a little bit about that. It was the day that my first full-length album came out. So I'm going to talk about my album, or I'm going to talk specifically about one of my songs from the album. Now, before you just stop the video right now, I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm going to do that in a separate video. I'm going to do two separate videos because I also want to talk about your album and your music, your songs, your EPs, whatever it is you've put out creatively. And what do I mean by that? So one of the things that is very important to me in terms of enjoying other people's music is to understand where it's coming from, to have a sense of what it means. And I think this is kind of universal for a lot of people. Like, if you're listening to music, you tend to gravitate towards stuff that you kind of resonate with, that resonates with you. And a lot of the time, especially if you're like sharing your music on public forums and whatever, you're sharing it with other producers and stuff, there's such a wide variety of stuff out there that you may not even be used to like listening to, but that like you can enjoy it on the surface, like you think it sounds good or whatever, but you don't really it doesn't really necessarily resonate with you. And so talking about what you're doing, like the driving force behind a piece of music or the decisions that were made along the way, is, I think, something that is a really cool way to kind of understand that and like really appreciate other people's music more than you might normally appreciate it. So for example, like if you've heard any of my music so far, it's very rock oriented. That's how that's what I grew up playing. That's what I learned on, just rock guitar, riffs and stuff like that, like Rage Against the Machine and Ween and like all these guitar based bands like Dredge and that sort of thing. And that's in what I do. But again, if you're playing that, if I'm showing that to other people who aren't necessarily from that background, they may not really get what it is about rock that like interests me and why I might think that it should be interesting to somebody else. And similarly, I'll listen to a EDM song or something that someone's posted, and like I can like it, I enjoy it, but I don't necessarily have a frame of reference for why that should resonate with me. And like, I guess the point of why I want to do this is, and why I want to make this video specifically, not the one I'm going to do talking about my music, but this video specifically, is I would like to see this more. Like, I would like to see more of a kind of a conversation almost between the person who's putting out the music and their audience. Especially if their audience is full of people who come from a very wide variety of backgrounds, who may not necessarily just get the type of music that they're trying to put out. And so, I want to see that, right? Like when I hear a song that somebody posted on for example, the reasontalk.com message boards, like a lot of the time, and I'm guilty of this too, but a lot of the time it's a kind of a dump and run kind of thing where you're like, I finished my song, now here's the link, go listen to it and let me know what you think. And it's like there's no like background on it other than, you know, you put in the title like, oh, it's a EDM track, or you put in the title it's a, you know, rock track, or whatever it is, pop, whatever it is. And like that's it. You don't get any information on like why, what motivated you to do it, what you know, what kind of instrumentation is it, what kinds of choices did you have to make along the way that made it interesting to you. That kind of stuff, I think, like makes it easier to relate to. So I guess this is kind of an appeal to people who are posting stuff to share some of that, because again, like it makes me more invested in what you're doing if I have an understanding or some kind of frame of reference to come at it from. Again, like if I listen to an EDM track, I didn't listen to a lot of EDM growing up, and you know, for a long time in my life, I actually actively had a dislike for electronic music, which I don't anymore. I love electronic music now, but you know, I had that mindset where like, you know, electronic music is just so easy. It's, you know, you press a button, you know, and that's it. You know, I didn't realize until I started doing it that it's way beyond that. But the point is, like, I didn't come up listening to that, so it's not as familiar to me in the sense that like I'm used to listening to rock songs, like I said, riffs and you know, song structures that are kind of familiar to me. That's what I started listening to, so that's easy for me to gravitate to. And I don't really have a appreciation for like the electronic music that doesn't have any vocals on it. Like I don't necessarily get that to the extent that I would like to, but I feel like if more people were talking about what they were doing, going through a song, showing the different ideas that they came up with and how they kind of formulated them, what their approach is, and like why they feel like this is a good song that, you know, they needed to put out, and that kind of thing, like then I can download the song or listen to the song and have a much better kind of understanding of like what makes this special to them, and maybe that will help me understand what, you know, find something special in it for myself. So that's really all I want to kind of get across with this video, is just I would like to see, I wish more people would do it. I mean, there are some people out there like the Twitch streamers and that sort of thing who are putting out like content based on their own music, and that's awesome. Like I love that stuff. But when you're posting your music in a forum, when you're sharing it, I wish more people would just tell the story of how this song came to be, or this album, or this EP, or even like what went into the lyrics, what went into the instrumentation, what kinds of choices were made. That kind of stuff just is really cool to understand, even if you're not into that kind of music like naturally. Like learning about that kind of stuff is interesting kind of across the board. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see more people doing that. So do that. Share your music and put your, you know, share why it's important to you. Share why it really got you going, that you had to put this out, and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's it. And again, I will do a separate video for my song. I'm going to do one of the songs probably called Just a Taste from the new Slow Robot album. And yeah, that's it for this one. So take care.